Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is the Road to the Record, where I work to achieve mastery of 10 games in a hunt for the best score of the Decathlon. If you like what you see, remember to hit that like button, and if you want to see more, hit subscribe. Let the games begin. This is Draft Day Sports College Basketball 2017. I am in week 21 of competition. And for the third successive season, I have seen my team promoted now to Conference S. There are two major realities that I'm going to need to get used to and accept here as I enter this season. One, after 3 successive promotions, I face a real danger of having a challenging season. You can only get promoted so many times before you see that step up in competition really take a bite out of you. Abilene Christian's a great example of that last year. They had a couple successive promotions, and then last year they struggled in the conference. So that could be a real challenge for me this season. And the second reality that I must face is that for the first time since the beginning of this game, I've seen a group of seniors graduate that is going to have a devastating impact on the starting lineup. I've had 1 to 2 top players leave in a season. This year, I had 4. And they were, the first 6 guys in terms of the depth chart. So, 3 of them were. 3 of them were in the first 6 guys. So, that's going to have a serious impact, I think, this year. Prediction-wise, preseason prediction, I'd probably say we're hopefully looking at mid-table this season. We can come out okay, not get promoted, but at least hang in there and begin retooling for a future run. So hopefully we can hang out in Conference S for a couple seasons and then get another run going. Here's a quick look at the roster as it is right now, including the new incoming recruiting class, at which the time at the end of the last episode, only 2 of those players had signed on with the team, and 2 more came after that. Also, one last quick update on where we left off at the end of the last episode. We had qualified after winning the conference tournament, so winning the conference for the second time. We qualified for the NCAA tournament as a 15 seed, played against the Florida Gators in the first round of the tournament, and made a game of it, but lost by 7. UConn would eventually go on to defeat Oklahoma for the national championship. So now, here we are with our roster. I have a freshman walk-on. That's a real surprise. This kid possibly could develop and actually get some real minutes. My walk-ons have always been juniors year after year. And so then they're gone after just a couple seasons and don't develop at all. But we have a point guard in Lewis Myers, who's a freshman walk-on this year. Our other walk-on is Emerson Fisher, who came on last year as a walk-on at the small forward position. So taking a look at my roster, I have 3 point guards, 4 shooting guards, 2 small forwards, so that's where our imbalance is, and 3 power forwards, 3 centers. Okay. One other thing of note is where everybody's from. This has changed for the first time since I've really had this team. I've only had 1 player outside of Oregon or Washington before. Now you can make that 2, as Adam Scales did end up signing with the team. That was the lower level recruit that I had, only because the other senior that was out there was not somebody who signed with us. The only center, not senior, the other center, and that was a JC transfer who just would not give me the time of day, and I finally got a little bit of interest out of him, and then I went for a home visit, and he came out of that saying, "Coach, I just can't see myself playing for you. And that was that. He was done. So, but luckily Scales did sign on, and so he's coming in from Vegas. But otherwise, everybody's been Oregon or Washington, with the majority being Oregon. But you can see right now the roster is pretty well kind of split 50-50 with kids out of Washington. And that's because everybody else that I signed all came out of Washington, I believe. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. So Larry Zimmerman is the veteran point guard, and he's a redshirt sophomore. So he played just a little bit last year as the backup to Aki Collins, who has graduated and moved on. But Zimmerman was a pretty big recruit a year ago. I got to keep an eye on that GPA, though, as he's not doing terribly hot in that department. But Maxie Davis, with the 4.0 GPA out of high school, is coming in as a freshman, and he was just outside of the top 100 as a recruit. So him and Zimmerman are both solid players for the future, and we'll have to see where they're at comparatively. Preston Favors is a senior this year, but Reginald Neely remains as the starter at that position, and Teddy Hazelton, who redshirted last year, will get his shot this season, coming off the bench anyway. It's going to be a difficult go for him to get some minutes, though, because he is behind 3 seniors at his position, as Chad Williams came in a year ago as a junior college transfer and had himself a pretty good season as the number 2 guy off the bench and the top scorer for the second unit. Kerry Williams is our incoming freshman, and this was the other one to sign. So of everybody that I was going for, he was the number 2 guy on the list, top 200 recruit in the whole nation, but was not interested. And slowly but surely, I got a little bit of interest. I offered him a scholarship for a long time, and then we finally got to go on a visit and jumped to like 7th on his list. At the end of recruiting, we were still only about 6th on his list, but apparently those top 5 schools must have been big schools, because he did end up signing with us. So that was fantastic to pick up Kerry Williams. Emerson Fisher is the senior walk-on that we talked about earlier. So Kerry Williams is kind of the lone guy at that position. So depending on his quality, he very well could be the starter this year, or could end up pulling a shooting guard like, say, Chad Williams, over to play at small forward this season and work his way into the starting lineup. Damian Hansen was the second of 2 players to have signed with us already prior to the end of the season, and he's coming in at the power forward position. He's coming in alongside Gerard Feltz, who redshirted a year ago, and with Ray Price, the only other power forward who was the number 2 guy at the position behind Clifton Jennings last season. We're going to have to rely on a young group at the power forward position, so I will be evaluating those 3 guys. There's a good chance that Hansen will redshirt unless he happens to be good enough to really come on and contribute immediately. Kerry Williams, there's a really good chance that he is not going to redshirt, and he will get solid minutes this year. But of all of those guys so far, I definitely see Hansen as the most likely to redshirt, but I have not evaluated any players yet in terms of skill. Charles George is a senior this year, and he was first team all-conference a year ago. Clifton Jennings made second team all-conference, so that was good honors for the both of them. Daniel Earl, who had some pretty solid minutes as a freshman last year, is now a sophomore. And Adam Scales, coming in as a freshman, will most likely redshirt this year. Now, speaking of, let's go ahead and take a look at the ratings. See, what do we have for this year? Teddy Hazelton. Holy cow, did he develop? He is a 4-star player now. This season. Oh my, oh my. Reginald Neely is going to be on the bench this year, it looks like. So I have a feeling that Teddy Hazelton's going to take over the starting job at shooting guard. Chad Williams will probably shift over and be the starting small forward. Charles George is now a 3.5-star player. So I actually have a lot more quality than I had a year ago, as all my top players were just 3 stars. And a lot of this is going to come down to the staff, which we'll take a look at here in a little bit. Reginald Neely is at 3 stars. He was, I think, 2.5 stars. He was the weaker starter in the bunch a year ago, but it looks like he might be a 6th man this season. Ray Price developed nicely at 2.5 stars. Daniel Earl also developing nicely at 2.5 stars now. And the freshman, Kerry Williams, 1.5 stars. So he probably will be the backup small forward. And here's my weakness. Point guard Larry Zimmerman is the best at 1.5 stars. Preston Favors, while a highly touted recruit for me, never has developed much. Just 1.5 stars. Incoming freshman Maxie Davis is 1 stars. Feltz is just 1 star. Hansen coming in at 1 star. Scales coming in at 1. And the walk-ons are just half-star recruits. So there's definitely a drop-off in quality, but there's still some solid quality in the team. Point guard is definitely a concern, though. Let's see. Zimmerman, how are you? Passing just 24, but handling is a 57. However, Hazelton is considerably better. So there's a chance that I might actually have Hazelton starting at the point this year. Williams starting at small forward. And then Neely staying on as the 2 guard, retaining his starting role there. And that would actually be 3 starting guards in the starting 5, alongside Price and George. And then that would make these 3, or these 4 actually with Favors, the main part of my bench. So like 9 guys in rotation. And Daniel Earl kind of being my main backup at the 4 and 5, and he's the best of those backups, so that actually could work out pretty well this season. And I could actually have a better team than I thought I was going to have in terms of that development, especially Hazelton. Holy cow. He's going to be lights out. 100 for jumpers. Pretty good ball handling. Yeah, nice. Okay. In terms of scoring options, nobody's that fantastic, but Williams and Hazelton look like they're going to grab quite a few points this year, while Neely and Price and Earl, and Zimmerman too, will be pretty decent second options. As for these other guys, Scales, he's got a red shirt for sure. Hansen, he's going to definitely red shirt. Feltz might be the 10th guy off the bench. I'll have to take a look at that. And Maxie Davis, I might end up red shirting him as well, allowing Zimmerman, if he's backing up Hazelton at the point, Zimmerman's not going to get a ton of time. So I might as well give these guys another year of eligibility and another chance to develop and become, players of this kind of quality. All right, so back to just the roster. Let's look at the roster here. So I do not need a point guard this year. I have 3 outgoing seniors at shooting guard. So I absolutely need a shooting guard this year for sure. Guaranteed. Uh, and I need another small forward. So shooting guard, small forward. I'm good at power forward this year. And then I'll need another senior. Center. I've said that twice now. So I need a shooting guard, a small forward, and a center. And I have 4 scholarships. So the 4th one will be kind of at random on where that ends up. In terms of what I'm losing, I should probably go after 2 shooting guards since I'm only going to have 1 left. But it's Hazelton, who's a redshirt freshman and 4 stars. So no, I don't need a second. 1 shooting guard will be just fine. So I do have that wild card that can come from just about anywhere. Maybe 2 small forwards. So shooting guard, small forward, center. It's time to start recruiting. Let's start with anyone who has interest. And that list is bigger than I've seen before, including somebody who's ranked in the top 500. I don't know if I've ever had anybody higher than about 800 or 900 on the interest, and he's got 2 pluses. So a decent amount of interest. Nobody is absolutely loving us except for Erskine. All right, well, let's see here. I'm going to start with these guys, and I'm going to add them. He's out of Salem, Oregon. And I'm already going to put my first watch film on him. And this guy's high enough, we'll go ahead and watch film on him as well. Griffin. Okay, Singletary is a shooting guard and top 800, so I'll go ahead and watch film on him. So I said shooting guard, small forward, and center is what I'm aiming for. So these other guys will only get on the list if they're a little higher up in the rankings. Still top 1,000, so I'll go ahead and pick these guys up. Remember, I do have that 4th scholarship, that quote-unquote wild card option, so... Alright, I'm about to break outside of the top 1,000. So I'm not going to look after any more point guards or power forwards. Okay, that's a power forward. That's a point guard. That's a power forward. Power forward. It's nice to have options this year, unlike previous years. Okay, I'm definitely getting down there now. Point guard, power forward, and back to the top of the list. Okay, so there's the first step. Now, from here, I'm going to look up all of the shooting guards, small forwards, and centers. Period. And then split them up by state, and we're going to look at Oregon and then Washington. Okay, there we go. Ooh, small group for Oregon. Very small group. Only 4 more above that. Center, 2 shooting guards, and a small forward in this group. And a JC transfer. And let's see, the highest ranked is Walker at 322. He very well could be one of my targets. Okay, that's the first group. I might need to look at point guards and power forwards as well. Take the top ranked ones. I'll do that next because that's just such a short list. Washington is next. Okay, here we go. This is a much healthier list. I was shocked how low that list was. How small that list was, I should say. Let's see. Church, 318 center. Of course, these rankings change a lot over the course of the season. So, here we go. We're going to take a look at these guys and add any of them to the list that aren't already on it. Regardless of ranking. It's the start of recruiting. You start with a big list. You whittle it down. Okay, that's it for Washington. Alright, so that's my 3 main positions. Now, because I still have that wild card and because that list isn't that long yet, I'm going to go ahead and look at point guards and power forwards and look at Oregon and Washington once again. There we go. Okay. Now, I might have a couple of these guys, like Tahid and Jones. Hunter, though, 386 point guard. Let's go ahead and add him to the list. And then, where did we go here? Oh, there you go. See, number 40, and then Forbes also. And there's Forbes. All right. And then same for Washington. So overall, Whitfield and Young. Okay, there's Whitfield and Young. Let's see, who else do we have? Whitfield, Young, Guyanus. Oh, Devin Jones, number 1 recruit. According to the Wolverine Studios Sports Network, number 1 recruit in the nation. Devin Jones. Clearly gonna watch some film on this kid. Chelan, Washington, that's not that far north. That's only about an hour and a half. And Bradley, 504. Let's add him. All right, now I have a list. So let's select all and select with my watch list and update. And let's see, what do I have here? Pretty healthy list, lots of top 1000s, not too many outside of that, only a handful below 1500. And they're shooting guards and small forwards with lots and lots of players above them. Let's see, 3-star interest is Erskine, and that's it. And the top group, none of them. Tahid's the highest one that has any interest. That's a power forward. And he's not even in the top 8, 9. He's 10th on the list in terms of rankings right now. All right, well, watching film, I have 6 left. We're going to go after these top guys because that's who I would like to recruit most of all. So Walker is the last one. So if I just remember a little Texas Ranger, I will have no problem remembering who it is that got the last look. Actually, it doesn't matter here at the start because you'll show up attributes when the others won't have them. All right, so call list. Here we go. Nope. He doesn't want to hear from me. Way down in Conference S. He's number 1 recruit in the nation. Will I break anybody down this week? Here's Bo Church. Yes. Yes. All right. Bo Church is one that I'm kind of looking at already going, ooh, yeah. All right, hey, we got through a couple things here, so that's good. And he does care about locations. So, Bo Church, first breakthrough we had. Number 318 recruit and a center. And the highest center on the list. So that could be our first target right there.
You have new mail.
Budget is $38,000 for this week. All right, look at that. Whoa, A. I've never even seen an A before. There you go. Well, they're both in the top 50, so of course they're an A. But here's the number 1 recruit in the nation, at least from first glance. An A for scoring, passing, handling. He's a point guard, so he's a great ball handler. He scores inside pretty well. He's an amazing outside scorer, and he's amazing on defense. Oh, man, how I would love to have this kid. Not going to happen, though. Number 1 recruit in the nation. We are cracking the top 100 here of late and getting better and better. And getting B-level recruits is certainly within our grasp. Tahid, sadly, on first look is only a C. So we're going to have to get after some of these guys above him because already, just like that, his interest is a +3 along with Erskine now. And Stanley and Martin. All right. Now, one quick thing to look at here, as I'm just about out of time on this episode. We brought back Jamal Rivers, and he, in re-signing with us for cheap at $20,000, is improving, but his scouting level is still only a 36. But he was definitely worth bringing back, and I've got him for 4 more years. But I brought in 2 new coaches this year. Both of the other guys who sat in last season made minimal amounts of money, and I forced them to sign 1-year contracts. It took me a really long time to get them to sign. They wanted to sign for a lot more than 1 year, but I did not want to retain their services any longer. I didn't want to have to fire him either. So Tom Stewart came in. He is weak, but he's a 35 on recruiting at least, which is a lot better than I think the 21 or 22 that I had from a year ago. So he'll help a little bit in recruiting. And his career earnings are 0. So this is his first coaching job. Signed on for $29,000. And Malone Morrissey signed for $36,000 as first assistant. 4 years for him, 3 years for Stewart. He is in charge of practice. He's not very good at practice with some 21s mixed about, but his player development is 67, and the impact of that was immediate, along with my player development of 57. We saw just how good players were coming back this season. My scouting has only climbed to a 34, but my recruiting jumped 10 points this year to a 78. If I remember correctly, I was at a 68 a year ago. And my offense and defense have both climbed to 57 now, along with that player development. So I'm getting pretty effective as a coach and belong much higher than this level as I enter year number 8 with the team. That's going to affect the budget, having these 2 guys coming in a lot higher than what I had a year ago, with about $20,000, $25,000 more in salaries tied up, which took away from what I have for recruiting this year. But I've got $38,000 to spend. Part of that is because I did not sign up for any summer camp stuff. All right, we're going to take a look at this one more week of recruiting, and then that's going to be it for this episode. And we'll see how effective I've been in recruiting once we get to the beginning of the non-conference schedule for the beginning of our next episode. All right, now I want to watch film on players that I have not seen yet. Okay, 4 more. Datcher, Brown, Patterson, and Fishback. Some interesting names coming through the pipe this year. And it looks like it's going to take me up to 2 more weeks to get through everyone. So I've got a pretty big list this year, but I will immediately start cutting it down. The only weaker player here on top is Forbes, even though he's ranked 277, at least on first glance. There's a lot not to like about that player. Not a great scorer, not a great defender, but he's still going to be better than a lot of players well down the list. All right, scouting live. I want to see Jones. I want to see Johnson. I got to see players that are that good just for the sake of it. And we'll take a look at Young as well. And now we head to the call list. All right, the fun job trying to get these guys to hear little ol' me out. And number 2 guy on the list, Jeff Johnson, hometown player, Portland, Oregon. And he has responded and is providing with information, and playing close to home is very important to him. So I might actually have a shot at this kid. He's got a 2.9 GPA. Oh, this is fantastic. And we got everything unlocked from him in just our second call, and by far his biggest factor is location. Facilities is number 2 on his list, but it's not very high. Let's see. And we'll see what we get from the parents. They both went to Western Illinois, but living in Portland, they are nowhere near Western Illinois, and he is one of those A's. This is the number 40 recruit in the whole nation, and I might have a shot at him. Whew. All right, cool. And there we are with the number 4 guy on our list, Forbes, who is the one who wasn't as good. But Forbes has given us the time of day too. So that's 3 players in the top 6 that have all responded to my, hey, why don't you give me some time? So my recruiting ability is definitely starting to show, even with top 250 recruits in the nation across the board, or top 300, I guess, guys across the board. So great job there, and it looks like I am making some progress when it comes to recruiting, and you'll have to check in next episode to see just how far I get along with these players, because I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up at this time. So that does it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer, and remember, I'm aiming for the best of the best. So if you're ready to join me on my journey, hit subscribe and tune in next time on my road to the record. Bye for now.